Hi there, welcome to Bitesize Britain. My name's David. I'm going to be your teacher for the lesson today. Today we're going to be looking at public transport in the UK, specifically buses. Public transport can be very confusing when you're in a different country. If you have travelled to different countries, you probably know it can be difficult to understand where to buy tickets, how to get on a bus or how to get on a train. Every single country does things a little differently. And it's the same with the UK. So the purpose of today's lesson is first just to talk about transport and different ways to travel. And secondly, to sort of practice dialogues when you are waiting or when you are on a bus. And this should help you when you try to use buses in the UK. Okay, let's start. Let's start by looking at how we can talk about travel. So we can say, I travel by or I travel on. Okay, so let's look. We've got different types of transport. Okay, if you want, you can pause here. Do you know the names of those different types of transport? Pause and wait a little before you continue. Okay, you can see the different types of transport there. Number 1, plane. Number 2, we can use boat or ship. 3, bus, bike, car, coach. Now, you can see number 3 is a bus, number 6 is a coach. Number 3, when we talk about a bus, this is normally sort of in a city, we use buses, or in a town, but a coach we use to travel between cities. So when we go from London to Manchester, we use a coach, but if we are in London or in Manchester and travelling inside, we use a bus. Number 7 is train and number 8 is tram. For all of those transports, we say I travel by. So I travel by plane, I travel by boat or ship, I travel by bus, I travel by bike, car, coach. But if we want to say foot, we use on. We say I travel on foot. Okay. Now, I'm going to use my city of Sheffield as an example. And this is a question you can ask people about transport and travel. I can ask, how do you normally travel in Sheffield? How do you normally travel in Sheffield? Now, we can use the word travel, but another good phrase or expression to use is this one, get around. You can see this on a sort of a picture in Sheffield where buses are. And this is a very common, usual, normal expression in English, to get around. It also means to travel. So in English, it would be more normal to talk about how do you get around in Sheffield. So get around, especially when we talk about short journeys, travel, we can say get around. How do you normally get around in Sheffield? So for example, if someone asks me, how do you normally get around in Sheffield? I can say, I normally get around by car and on foot. Okay, for me, by car and on foot is how I normally get around. What about you? What about in your city? How do you normally get around? Try and practice this. You can pause here and just try to say the sentence. I normally get around by car or by bus, by tram or on foot. Practice saying that. Okay, we're going to look at buses. I think buses are the most common and popular way to travel around a city. So we can say many people get around by bus. So in Sheffield, where I live, many people get around by bus. And here are some words connected to buses. Do you know what these are? What do you call that job? Okay, we can pause for a second. Okay, this is a bus driver. Bus driver. What do we call this? This is the small piece of paper you use to travel on a bus. What do we call this in English? Pause for a second. Okay, this is a bus ticket. Bus ticket. Okay, number 3, this is the place where you stand to wait for a bus. What do we call this? Pause for a second. This is a bus stop. Bus stop. Number 4, you can see there are people waiting in a line here. Okay, so they're waiting for the bus and there's one person, another person, another person, another person. What do we call that in English when you are in a line? Another word. Pause for a second. Okay, this is a queue. A queue. Now, here you can see like a map, and this shows all the different directions or places buses can go. What do we call one of those lines? One of those lines showing where a bus is going. Do you know? Pause for a second. This is called a bus route. A bus route. So for example, a bus will have a number on the front, 20, 50, and this will be the bus route for number 50, or the bus number 50 route. Okay, and this last one, this shows you all of the different times when the bus will come to the bus stop. Do you know the name of this? Pause for a second. Okay, this is a bus timetable. Bus timetable. Okay, do you remember all of those? Do you remember all of those words? Okay, pause for a second and spend a minute or so trying to remember the names for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, you can see them all here. Bus driver, bus ticket, bus stop, bus queue, bus route, bus timetable. These are all useful words to remember for when you are travelling by bus in the UK. Okay, let's now think of some conversations or dialogues we have when we are either waiting or on the bus. So for example, you can see here 2 people waiting at a bus stop. The man is thinking, this bus, city centre? I don't know. So he wants to ask a question to the lady at the bus stop. What question does he ask her? What question does he ask her? Pause and then try to think. Okay, you can see he says, excuse me, does this bus go to the city centre? Does this bus go to the city centre? Now we can change that to whatever place. So we can say, does this bus go to the shopping centre? Does this bus go to the football stadium? Does this bus go to Smith Road? And the lady can answer two ways, which are pause and think. Yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. Because the question has does this bus? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Okay, so now you get on the bus and you talk to the bus driver. Now, this person wants to go to the city centre, but wants to know how much. So what question can the woman ask the bus driver? Pause and think. Okay, so you can see she says, excuse me, how much is a ticket to the city centre? How much is a ticket to the city centre? Now, in English, that's a long question. It's normal to make the question shorter. Normally, we don't say, is a ticket, because the bus driver knows it's a ticket. So you can say, excuse me, how much to the city centre? How much to the city centre? And here the driver just says £2.50. £2.50. Now, on buses, you can ask for different kinds of tickets. If the ticket is only going one way or direction, we have a special name for this. It begins with S. Pause, think, what is the name for this? Okay, we call this a single ticket. A single ticket. We also have tickets where you go and come back. What do we call this? What do we call this? Pause and think. Okay. This is a return ticket. Return ticket. Okay, so here the woman wants to go to the city centre and a return ticket. So what is the question? Pause and think. Yeah, she says, can I have a return to the city centre, please? Can I have a return to the city centre, please? And the driver says, that's £4. And then he says, what? Money or something. Money or your little way of paying. What does he say here? Okay, yeah. He says cash or card. So he says, that's £4, cash or card. So money or card. And she says card. Okay, now when you are in a bus and you see an older person, an old man or an old lady, it's normally good to make them have a seat, okay, so they can sit down. So you can see in the picture, the woman sees the old man. What does she ask him? What does she ask him? Pause and think. Okay, so she says, excuse me, would you like this seat? Excuse me, would you like this seat? And he says, thank you, that's very of you. What do you think goes here? What word do you think he says? Yeah, so that's thank you, that's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. Okay, now we can see there are two women sitting in the bus and they are near a bus stop. The woman is thinking, is this the city centre bus stop? So what question can she ask? What question can she ask? Pause and think. Okay, so she asks, excuse me, is this the stop for the city centre? Is this the stop for the city centre? And the other woman answers, yes, it is. Okay, so we have these different dialogues or conversations on a bus. These are really useful to learn. So when you are waiting for a bus or when you go on a bus, you know how to ask if you are on the correct bus, and also you can ask for tickets as well. So let's look at these and you can listen to each dialogue one by one. So, first dialogue.
Excuse me, does this bus go to the city centre?
Yes, it does.
Second dialogue.
Excuse me, how much to the city centre?
£2.50.
Third dialogue.
Can I have a return ticket to the city centre?
That's £4. Cash or card?
Fourth dialogue.
Excuse me, would you like this seat?
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
And the fifth dialogue.
Is this the stop for the city centre?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you think you can remember those? Here are the same dialogues, but some of the words are missing. You can pause and see if you remember the missing words in those dialogues. Okay, you can see those dialogues again to see if you got those right. Okay, I hope you found that useful. Public transport can be a little bit difficult and confusing when you go to a different country, and I'm sure that the way we use public transport in the UK is different from your country and many other places around the world. If you want to practice this language, there is a QR code there, and there is also a link in the description to the video where you can find some different activities that you can do to help you remember the language that we studied and learnt in this lesson. There are 4 different activities, and you can click the buttons along the top to move between them, and these should work nicely on your mobile devices. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you can watch some of our other videos both on the channel and also in the future. Look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.